Good day, I'm Bluesuit, and today we'll be talking about my review of the medieval turn-based strategy conquest city management sim known as Rising Lords. Rising Lords is set deep in the medieval ages, where peasants did what you told them and died of old age at 35. It's a hard life for everyone, and it's set against the backdrop of beautiful hand-painted landscapes and characters. There's currently no story in the game whatsoever, and beyond quick battles, the only thing you can really do is play the scenarios, which are the game's main attraction. In a scenario, each faction starts off with one puny village out of the 20 villages on the map. Any village that doesn't belong to a faction just belongs to the people. And as leader, it's your job to take your starving little village and expand your territories and eventually defeat everyone else and become victorious. It sounds like an oversimplified civilization game, but there are several things that make it stand out as its own experience. The largest of these is how combat plays out. When entering combat, you actually go into this turn-based strategy mini-game where your armies are represented as chess pieces on a board, with the quantity of your units determining their strength. Where the strategy comes in is in the use of cards, action cards. As you grow stronger, you can unlock more cards for your deck, allowing you to make more impactful tactical decisions. Even with all the cards currently in the game though, there still isn't a lot of tactical depth in these battles, and I'm excited for the release of more of them in the future. In addition to the combat, Rising Lords' medieval theme was done in a great way. First of all, the entire game looks like an old English painting, and the soundtrack does a great job of complementing that style. Secondly, everyone seems so miserable all the time, and your citizens put up with a lot more here than in other games. For example, I was tripling their taxes, barely feeding them, sending their sons to war, making them work all day every day until they died, and they were fine as long as they had a couple of churches and a bishop. It's a very different sort of management sim, and virtually nothing is explained to you when you start. I couldn't get my hands on stone for the majority of the game because I didn't realize that this little bearded chubster who shows up every once in a while is actually a merchant that can sell you the goods you don't have access to, and I'll even buy the stuff that you're making too much of. The game is definitely not without its faults, however, as it suffers from many of the things that Day 1 early access titles suffer from. The biggest is a lack of content. Rising Lords is in dire need of a few features that are still in development. Diplomacy and additional action cards are already in the works, but I'd really like to see more upgrade trees for buildings and units, and maybe a tech tree as well. Fortunately, there are a lot of other games in the genre that they are able to pull inspiration from. The other major issue that plagues early access games is the bugs. I did have one bug in particular that caused my game to crash if I tried to end the turn. I eventually gave up and loaded a save from an hour prior and started saving constantly thereafter. Other than that, the only other real technical issue was that the load time seemed really long in between turns, and I hope the devs at Argonwood find a way to optimize them further. The actual city management part of Rising Lords is pretty lackluster right now as well, and doesn't really do anything new or exciting. There's only a handful of actual buildings you can build right now, and a lot of them aren't upgradable. The majority of your time spent as Lord is simply just keeping your people's happiness maxed out while giving them little food and high taxes. It took me a couple hours to find this balance, but once you figure it out, it's the same for every city. Rising Lords has a pretty solid foundation to build off of here though. The gameplay loop of building up your population, then sending them to war, strikes a fun balance between the city management half of the game and the battles. And if you want, you can do only the battles in the game's quick battle mode. Both sides are fun and addicting, they just need a lot more of everything before the game's really going to be worth it. That being said, Rising Lords enters early access on 27 May, and Day 1 early access games are rarely or never worth full price. So with that, considering the beautiful art style of the game and the unique mashup of turn-based city management with tactical card-style combat, I'm valuing Rising Lords at $11. I had a lot of fun with it, but it didn't take long for me to run out of things to do, so I'm very excited for its future development. I hope you enjoyed this review of Rising Lords. Come see me on Twitch where you can watch our reviews in progress 5 nights a week. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you thought about it. Until next time, peace!